Hello and welcome back to Boni's Life, the channel where we peel back the layers of the stories you think you know. Today, we're diving deep into a story that has sent shockwaves through the automotive world. A story of a titan, a legend, an icon of German engineering that suddenly finds itself in crisis mode. We're talking about Porsche. For 75 years, the name Porsche has been synonymous with performance, luxury, and most importantly, immense profitability. It was a money printing machine wrapped in the sleek lines of a 911. But what if I told you that this machine has ground to a screeching halt? In a stunning admission that the mainstream media has largely glossed over, Porsche's own CEO, Oliver Blume, declared that the company's vaunted business model no longer works in its current form. This isn't just a hiccup, folks, this is a seismic event. Porsche's operating profit experienced a catastrophic 99% collapse in 2025, plummeting from over 4 billion euros to a mere 40 million. In this episode, we're going to dissect what's really happening behind the polished showroom floors. We'll uncover the uncomfortable truths that many reports edit out, analyze the perfect storm of factors that brought this giant to its knees, and explore what this means not just for Porsche, but for the entire luxury car market. So buckle up because this is a ride the folks in Stuttgart would rather you didn't take it. Let's start with the numbers, because they are staggering and they don't lie. When a company like Porsche sees its operating profit fall by 99%, it's not just a bad quarter. It's a 5-alarm fire in the boardroom. For the first 9 months of 2025, profits fell from a staggering 4.035 billion euros the previous year to just 40 million euros. To put that in perspective, that's like a person earning $1 million a year suddenly finding their annual income slashed to just $10,000. The third quarter alone posted an operating loss of nearly €1 billion, 966 million euros to be exact. This wasn't just a miss, it was a complete capsizing of expectations, far worse than the 611 million euros loss analysts had braced for. The company that boasted a return on sales of over 14% in 2024 is now struggling to even hit 2% in 2025. This is the kind of financial implosion you expect from a struggling startup, not a blue-chip behemoth with a 75-year legacy of success. So, where did all the money go? The company has pointed to a massive 3.1 billion euros in extraordinary expenses for 2025. This isn't just the cost of doing business. This is the cost of getting your strategy profoundly wrong. These expenses are tied to a dramatic U-turn on its electric vehicle strategy, the cancellation of its in-house battery production, and sweeping restructuring costs. We're going to unpack that EV strategy in a moment, but it's crucial to understand that these aren't just paper losses. This is cash being incinerated to correct a series of disastrous decisions. On top of this internal chaos, external pressures have been mounting. US import tariffs alone are projected to gouge a 700 million euro hole in the 2025 balance sheet. This isn't just a storm, it's a perfect financial hurricane, and Porsche is right in the eye of it. For years, the golden goose for German automakers, especially in the luxury segment, was China. The burgeoning Chinese middle and upper class had an insatiable appetite for European prestige and performance. At its peak in 2021, Porsche sold nearly 96,000 cars in China, accounting for almost a third of its global sales. It was a phenomenal success story, but that story has taken a dark and dramatic turn. In the first quarter of 2025, Porsche's sales in China didn't just dip, they fell off a cliff, plummeting by a staggering 42%. This was the brand's worst quarterly performance in China in over a decade. The golden goose, it seems, has stopped laying eggs. What the mainstream narrative often fails to capture is the why. This isn't just a simple market downturn, it's a fundamental shift in consumer consciousness. The Chinese car buyer has evolved. They are no longer just buying a badge, they are buying technology, innovation, and value. And a new breed of domestic competitors is delivering on those fronts in ways that have left legacy automakers like Porsche looking slow, overpriced, and outdated. Brands like Zeekr, BYD's Yangwang, and most notably, the electronics giant Xiaomi, have entered the fray with vehicles that are not just inspired by European design, but are in many respects technologically superior. They offer futuristic interiors, cutting-edge software, and performance figures that challenge and even surpass their German rivals, all at a fraction of the price. Let's take the Xiaomi SU7, a car that has been nicknamed the Mi Porsche in China. Its top-tier SU7 Ultra boasts an incredible 1,548 horsepower and starts at around $72,000. In stark contrast, the base Porsche 911 in China, with a mere 394 horsepower, will set you back over $200,000. When Xiaomi launched the SU7, it reportedly received 10,000 pre-orders in just 2 hours, more cars than Porsche sold in China in the entire first quarter. This isn't just competition, it's a market disruption of epic proportions. The brutal reality, which Porsche's leadership seems reluctant to accept publicly, is that the brand's heritage, its 75 years of racing history, means very little to the new generation of Chinese consumers. As one analyst bluntly put it, the concept of Porsche as a golden brand means nothing to younger generations in China. They are not impressed by the roar of a flat-six engine. They are captivated by seamless connectivity, autonomous driving features, and the sheer technological prowess that domestic brands are offering. This has led to the almost unthinkable statement from CEO Oliver Blume, who mused that Porsche might have to abandon the EV segment in China entirely. For a company that once saw China as its future, this is a stunning and humiliating retreat. If the situation in China is a crisis, then Porsche's global electric vehicle strategy has been an unmitigated disaster. Just a few years ago, in 2022, Porsche was beating its chest, proclaiming an ambitious goal. 80% of all its new vehicles would be all electric by 2030. The Taycan, its first EV, was hailed as a triumph, a true Porsche that just happened to be electric. But the dream has soured. The reality is that the transition to EVs has been far more costly and complicated than anticipated, and the market has not responded as predicted. The Taycan, once the symbol of Porsche's electric future, saw its sales plummet by a shocking 49% in 2024. Consumers were not flocking to it as expected, and the company was forced to face a hard truth: that ambitious 80% target for 2030. CEO Oliver Blume now calls it not realistic anymore. This isn't just a minor cost correction, it's a full-blown strategic reversal. The company has officially slammed the brakes on its EV-only future. The most telling evidence of this is the decision to indefinitely shelve the development of a brand new, dedicated EV platform that was supposed to underpin its next generation of electric models in the 2030s. This cancellation comes with a hefty price tag, contributing to a write-down of up to €1.8 billion in 2025. But the most symbolic U-turn is the fate of the beloved 718, Cayman, and Boxster models. These cars were slated to go all electric, a move that was met with a mix of excitement and trepidation from enthusiasts. Now, in a stunning reversal, Porsche is re-engineering them to accommodate internal combustion engines once again. The company that was charging headfirst into an all-electric future is now scrambling to put the gasoline engine back in its sports cars. This is not the action of a company confidently leading the charge. It is the action of a company in a state of panic, desperately trying to undo what it now recognizes as a colossal miscalculation. So if the all-electric future is on hold, what's the new plan? It appears to be a hasty pivot back to what they know, but with a modern twist: hybrids. Porsche is now touting its new T-hybrid technology, a system that pairs a traditional combustion engine with an electric exhaust turbocharger and an integrated electric motor. We're seeing this in the new 911 Carrera GTS, which now produces a formidable 532 horsepower. The goal is to use electrification not to replace the combustion engine, but to enhance it, to make it more powerful and ostensibly more efficient. The company is also planning a new flagship SUV, positioned above the Cayenne, which will launch with combustion and hybrid options, with a full EV version to come later. Maybe. This shift back to hybrids feels less like a visionary strategic move and more like a desperate stopgap measure. It's an attempt to bridge the gap between their failed EV ambitions and the market's current desires, but it also creates a confusing message for consumers. Is Porsche an EV company? Is it a hybrid company? Or is it just a company that's throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks? This strategic whiplash is a symptom of a deeper problem. Porsche, a brand built on engineering certainty and a clear vision, seems to have lost its way. The decision to bring back gasoline engines for the next generation 718 models, after publicly committing to an all-electric future for them, is a move that reeks of desperation. It suggests that the company is no longer driving the market, but is instead being driven by it. While hybrids may offer a temporary solution, they are not a long-term answer to the fundamental challenges Porsche faces. The market is still moving towards electrification, albeit at a different pace than Porsche predicted. By retreating to the perceived safety of combustion and hybrid technology, Porsche risks being left behind once again when the next wave of EV innovation arrives. This pivot might plug the financial bleeding for now, but it does little to address the core issue: Porsche's failure to create compelling and competitive electric vehicles that resonate with the modern luxury buyer. This brings us to a more intangible but perhaps the most critical issue: the role of brand arrogance in this crisis. For decades, Porsche has operated on a simple and effective principle: exclusivity. A Porsche was not just a car, it was a statement, a symbol of success, an exclusive club that only a select few could join. The company has been masterful at managing supply to keep demand and therefore prices artificially high. In the face of the current crisis, what has been the leadership's response? CEO Oliver Blume has been quoted as saying, "We don't care about the volume," and that his primary concern is keeping prices high at a level appropriate for Porsche. This is a statement that is so profoundly out of touch with the current market reality that it is almost breathtaking. This is the kind of thinking that leads a company to believe it can pass on the full cost of tariffs to its customers without consequence. In 2025 alone, Porsche has implemented multiple price hikes in the United States to offset the €700 million hit from import duties. The company seems to believe that its brand is so powerful, so desirable, that customers will simply absorb these increases without a second thought, but the market is proving them wrong. Consumers, even in the luxury segment, are not fools. They see the technologically superior, more affordable, and frankly, more exciting options coming from brands like Xiaomi, and are asking themselves a simple question: what am I actually paying for with a Porsche? Am I paying for superior engineering, or am I just paying for a badge? When a Chinese EV can offer more than triple the horsepower for a third of the price, the Porsche value proposition begins to look very weak indeed. The exclusivity that was once Porsche's greatest strength has now become its greatest liability. It has bred a culture of complacency and a dangerous disconnect from the evolving desires of the consumer. The world has changed, but Porsche's mindset has not. The company is still acting like the undisputed king of the sports car world, while new and hungry competitors are already storming the castle walls. When a company of this stature faces a crisis of this magnitude, you have to look at the leadership. Oliver Blume, who has been at the helm of Porsche for a decade and also serves as the CEO of the parent company Volkswagen, is now on his way out. He will be handing over the reins of Porsche to Michael Leiters, the former CEO of McLaren Automotive, at the beginning of 2026. This change cannot come soon enough for many investors who have been critical of Blume's dual role and the company's performance under his recent leadership. Leiters is set to inherit one of the biggest crises in the European auto sector. The company is in the midst of a painful restructuring, with plans to cut 1,900 jobs by 2029, on top of the 2,000 temporary worker contracts that were terminated in 2025. There are even whispers of further cuts that could affect up to a quarter of the German workforce. These are not the signs of a healthy company. This is a company in turmoil, and the leadership must bear the responsibility. The series of strategic blunders, the failure to anticipate market shifts, the arrogant pricing strategies, and the disastrous EV rollout all point to a failure at the very top. The decision to appoint a new CEO from outside the Volkswagen Group is a clear signal that the board recognizes the need for a fresh perspective, for someone who is not wedded to the old way of doing things. But the question remains, is it too late? Can a new leader, no matter how talented, turn this ship around quickly enough to avoid further damage? Michael Leiters has a monumental task ahead of him. He must not only fix the financial mess, but also redefine the very identity of Porsche in a world that is rapidly leaving its old one behind. So, what is the ultimate lesson from the Porsche paradox? It is a story of how a legacy of success can breed a dangerous sense of invincibility. It is a cautionary tale for any company that believes its brand is too big to fail. Porsche's 99% profit collapse is not just a financial statistic. It is a brutal wake-up call. It is proof that in the 21st century marketplace, heritage is not enough. Prestige is not enough. A powerful brand name is not enough. Consumers today demand innovation, value, and a connection to the future, not just the past. Porsche forgot that. It became so enamored with its own legend that it failed to see the world changing around it. It assumed that its customers would follow it blindly, no matter the cost, no matter the product. And it was wrong. The road ahead for Porsche is uncertain. The company expects 2025 to be the trough year, with a recovery in profit margins expected in 2026. But a full recovery will require more than just financial maneuvering. It will require a fundamental cultural shift. It will require a dose of humility. It will require the company to once again listen to its customers and to earn their loyalty, not just expect it. The Titan has stumbled. Now, we will see if it has the strength, the vision, and the humility to get back up. Thank you for joining me on Boni's Life. What are your thoughts on the Porsche crisis? Is this a temporary setback or a sign of a permanent decline? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Until next time, stay curious.